matter of the people of the state of California versus Orenthal James Simpson, case number BA096.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
And we are back, Taylor. I'm just pumped, full of energy, just thrilled right now, and everything's just gravy. How are you doing?
Good. Good. Going to a fundraiser tonight for our friend Derek, who's running for Congress. I'm very
Oh,
excited.
Derek Marshall.
Mm-hmm. So if you live in
Wait,
the
so
high
he got
desert.
through his primary?
Yes. He did last time as
Wow.
well. Yeah, he did both. He did in 2020 and now.
I don't get
He's
it.
just
Is it a Republican? Is he running as a Democrat?
he's running as a Democrat. Yes. Against a Republican.
Is it a Republican district?
Yes.
Okay. Is it a
Mhm.
big Republican district? Is it like a 70-30 swing Republican district?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry,
Um,
Derek.
I know, but I am excited, and it's nice. Like some of the parents that I know are there and that kind of thing. Make it
What
a
is it, like a
community.
gala fundraiser or?
No, it's at this place in Joshua Tree called Sacred Sands, which my kid's soccer coach owns, and it's like an event space, hotel. You can get married there. It's like a really pretty house in the middle of Joshua Tree. So
Very cool. Very
yeah,
cool.
yeah.
We'll have fun at then. Tell him I said hi. If he even remembers me, he probably doesn't
I'll just
remember
list
who I
off
am.
people we might know at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, Sweet. So it is my time to share,
Oh wait,
and
I'm sorry, let me intro.
oh yeah, jeez.
Can you hear if I do this with my fan? Curious in the recording. I'm curious with me.
Not really.
It's so hot. It's like 100 degrees still. Hello everyone. Welcome to Doomed to Fail. I'm Taylor, joined by Fars. We cover history's most notorious disasters and epic failures twice a week. And today is Thursday, and it's Fars's turn.
And I'm Pars, and I'm going to be sharing a fun new way to die that I just learned.
Yay! Cool.
Yeah, this is and it's funny because there's actually some overlap with your story of this week. So, this is a natural disaster I'd never heard of before, which is rare to discover a new type of natural disaster, and thought I'd cover it.
Great.
You might have heard of this because you might have researched this as part of the volcano series, but have you ever heard of a thing called a limnic eruption?
Not off the top of my head.
Okay. So it is a thing that if it happens around you, like you will almost certainly die, but it is seemingly pretty rare. There have
Okay.
only been two cases of a limnic eruption actually being like documented and recorded within history. Although it is almost impossible that this has only happened twice. We only know about these two because of the death toll that it had associated with it. But so it's very possible that this occurs around the world on a regular basis, and it's just not observed because nobody's around to see it happen and see the bodies dropping. So let's get into what it is, and it shares some similarities with your story around sarin gas.
Oh,
So,
great.
so a limnic eruption, it's an event that occurs when there's an abundance of CO2, carbon dioxide, contained within a very, very deep lake that is deep enough to dissolve the CO2 under water pressure. It has to be a calm environment, meaning there's not a bunch of stuff happening around it, so that the CO2 has a very, very long, protracted period of time to build up, get dissolved within this lake. Then another thing has to happen, which is a natural phenomenon has to occur that creates a disturbance in which all this CO2 is released. So the way to, if you're trying to like do a cross-section visualization of this, the way to think about it is like, imagine like a cross-section of a lake. And at the very bottom, you have all this dissolved CO2. Then there's all this water above it. And then there's no reason for the CO2 to kind of migrate further up because the pressure is so high, it's keeping it low. But then something can happen that just disrupts everything on the bottom and then shoves it all the way to the front, all the way to the top.
Is it a gas? No.
CO2 is a gas.
So it's like a gas under the water, like a bubble.
Yeah, gas in the water.
Okay, it's just like that part of the water has extra CO2 in it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I hate lakes. I hate them. Continue.
This is gonna be a scary one then.
Fuck lakes. Go ahead.
So I'm going to break this episode down into three parts. It's going to be a fairly quick episode, actually, because this doesn't happen that often, thankfully. But I'm going to talk about the largest known Limnic disaster in history, the possibility of it happening again, and also how it can be avoided. So
I'm gonna say don't go to lakes.
don't go to lakes. So the largest known limnic eruption ever recorded was in Lake Nyos, which is in Cameroon. It is about a half of a square mile around, and it reaches a depth of 682 feet, which is pretty deep.
Wow,
So
I hate it.
below the lake is an inactive volcano, and despite the volcano being extinct, it still contains a magma. It still contains magma in its chambers 50 feet or 50 miles beneath the lake. And the
It's very far.
magma, very far,
Okay.
that magma produces CO2 and kind of burps up CO2 into the rocks and the sand and eventually migrates its way under, like at the very bottom of this lake, where given its depth of over 600 feet, there's an immense amount of pressure that is applied to it. I did the calculation for this. It is roughly 21 atmospheres of pressure. And what you need to dissolve CO2 is like you need about a fourth, maybe a half of that pressure to be able to dissolve CO2.
Hmm.
You need it dissolved because it has to, if it doesn't dissolve, it can just go to the top and be released.
Whoa.
Yeah. What you're doing, what's happening is the CO2 just breaking up in the water and it's becoming part of the water. And therein lies the problem. It's called saturation. It's just being overly saturated with the CO2. And I'm gonna give you a really great example of how big of a deal this is in like two paragraphs, give or take.
Okay.
So next to Lake Nyos is Nyos Village, which was built about a half mile from the shoreline and populated by around 4,000 people and just thousands of their livestock. It's a little village in Cameroon.
Hmm.
On August 21st, 1986, what we assume is a landslide occurred. We don't know definitively. Scientists and geologists have ruled out that they're saying it's unlikely that it was a small earthquake that happened because nobody reported tremors and they didn't document any tremors. So like it had to have been a landslide that occurred. And that is what ended up causing the events that are about to unfold. This landslide disturbed the lake enough that all that CO2 that was dissolved and captured within the water at the very bottom of this lake was released up the water column and out. To put into perspective the magnitude of what happened, the lake dropped 3 feet
Whoa.
yeah, it was, this is a lot of CO2. Like that's a crazy amount, like for a lake to drop. It generated a wave 82 feet tall. Like this was
Whoa.
like a crazy event to, if anybody actually observed it. So, because CO2 is denser than air, the CO2 settled on the ground and then traveled with the wind, which was going downstream to the village. The final tally of what happened was 1,746 people and around 3,500 cattle all suffocated to death.
I thought you were saying two people were gonna die. Like everyone died? Or just
Uh,
happened twice?
so it happened twice. In this case, about half the people in this village died. The rest of them were cognizant and aware enough of what was going on to run away. That's the only chance you have to
Wow.
run away because carbon dioxide poisoning is also called hypercapnia, and there's various stages of it. So like a light
Hmm.
version of this would be you get a little bit dizzy, you get a little bit confused. A more intense version of this, you can fall into a coma, you can convulse yourself to death, but no matter what, you're breathing something that your body cannot absorb to run your body. And so you suffocate as in the process because you're too saturated with CO2 and not enough oxygen.
Whoa.
And that's what happened to these 1,700 people.
Oh
There's
my God.
the other one that happened actually happened. I think that was also in Cameroon, but it was only 2 years earlier. It was only 2 years earlier. I think 86 people died. It was like a smaller village there, but it was just right in this exact same time zone. It was 84, and then this was in 86. So thinking about the possibility of it happening again. So 1,300 miles from Lake Nyos is an even scarier place called Lake Kivu. Um, it is in the middle and on the border of both Rwanda and the Congo. And it is Way bigger. It is about it's over 1,000 square miles of surface area, and it has a max depth of just under 1,600 feet. It is
Oh my
way
God.
bigger. Yeah,
I hate it.
yeah. What's crazy? There's like it's like the 12th biggest lake or the deepest lake. Like there's like lakes that are like ocean depth. It's crazy.
I hate it. Yeah.
Yeah. So this lake is also between two active volcanoes and also has magma kind of funneling CO2 underneath it. But it also has other things, it has other gases, things like methane that are also being introduced into this into the lake bed. So scientists have found evidence of mass extinction events all around this lake, meaning this thing has had limnic eruptions in the past and it just keeps happening over and over again.
I just picture like a hand coming out of the lake and being like,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
being like everything around me.
Pretty
Did,
much as a
did it
gas, that's
kill
exactly
did
what
it
would
kill
happen.
the plants too?
I don't think so.
Okay. 'Cause it wouldn't
Yeah.
like instantly kill them, but like everything. Okay, continue.
That's the thing. Plants don't like breathe like we do. And so like by the time the
Yeah.
gas dissipates, it'll have time to recover. Um Also it consumes CO2 and it spits out oxygen. So it's the exact inverse of us.
So it had like a really good day. The people are
It
gone
had a
and now
really
it's
good
like
day. The plants
rest.
were just thriving. Yeah,
Like people
exactly.
going to like an oxygen bar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So because they saw that all around this thing was all this mass extinction stuff, because they could see through like time all these fossils basically. And they realized that like this thing is due for one of these any day at this point. And it would suck because roughly 2 million people live near the lake. And so the government and the scientific community kind of decided, like, hey, what do we do about this? Like, we can't just let this thing burp up the way the other one burped up and kill everybody around us. So the question becomes, how do you avoid it? There are different solutions for different types of gas mixed into lake water. In the case of Lake Nyos, basically what they did was very simple. They installed like going all the way down from the top these pipes to the bottom of the lake bed. They attached that to a water pump. And so what happened is that the water pump would draw water from the very bottom, this over hyper CO2 saturated water,
Hmm.
right? As it rises in the water column, the water pressure reduces and the water releases the CO2, and the CO2 just starts burping out of the top of this pipe. And because of something about how water pressure works, because of this, it's a self-perpetuating cycle. So you just leave this pipe there, and the CO2 evaporates or goes out the top, and then it draws more water from the bottom. And the cycle just is self-sustaining at this point. So that's all it is. All they did was they just dropped a bunch of pipes in Lake Nyos to remove the CO2. And at this point, it is incredibly unlikely for there to be one of these limnic eruptions on that lake, at least. Lake Kivu is different in the sense that because it's so close to so many active volcanoes,
Oh
there's
my
a
God.
ton of methane in there. And so you can have the same situation happen if it was to release methane because you also shouldn't be breathing methane. So on the one hand, they did the same thing they did at Lake Nyos, was just drop these pipes all the way to the bottom and have that kind of filter the water out and filter the CO2 out. But they also had to figure out a way to deal with the methane situation. So what they ended up doing, the government did, was they ended up selling the rights to the lake's methane to energy companies who could run methane extraction platforms on the lake to then sell back to businesses and consumers. So
Wow.
as of 2016, a $200 million power plant was built to harness and use the methane extracted the lake. And as a result, it has made the lake safe. And well, as safe as a 1,500-foot lake could be. But it's also become like a huge economic stimulant to the area. And so that's what they do now. They just run methane extraction platforms and then self-sustain, which is kind of cool.
That is cool.
Yeah. So that's again a short one, but given the week I've had, I don't think anybody is going to blame me. And hopefully you all learned of a new way that nature can kill us again.
Ugh. I mean, those big lakes, nothing good ever happens to them.
Speaking of which, how crazy is this death toll with the hurricane?
I know. It's
600
awful.
people? Is that real? Was that what I read? 600?
I don't, maybe. I heard that they like were telling people like I said 128 dead. Hundreds are missing. So yes,
That
more
is
definitely more than that.
nuts.
But they were saying like if you we are told to leave and you didn't leave, write your name on your leg in permanent markers so we can identify you. Could you imagine?
And I think it hit Asheville.
It did. Destroyed big parts of Asheville. We were there just a
We
year
were just
ago.
there, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty my brother's boyfriend is from there and a lot of his friends like they just were sharing photos and it's really terrifying.
That is nuts. That is nuts. Yeah. Well, hope whoever could get out of the way got out of the way.
I know. It's just like whenever I mean whenever I hear those and see those just like the destruction is crazy, the death is crazy, like it's just it's awful.
Yeah, like how do you go back to normal life after that? I guess you can't.
I mean, I guess you just I
Just gotta
mean,
rebuild.
you just gotta rebuild it and people, still live in these dangerous places that we live in and all the things. But oh yeah, it's really bad. Hopefully, yeah, I don't know. It's terrible. Harrington Lake in Kentucky is 249 feet deep. That doesn't even feel that bad. Oh my God, I actually kind of want to throw up thinking about that deep of a lake.
Yeah, the one in Russia is 5,400 feet deep.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's over a mile deep.
Nope.
Terrifying.
More than 20% of the Earth's unfrozen fresh water is there
Where?
in Lake Baikal in
By
Russia.
call? Yeah.
Oh, here's an image. It sh shows you how deep it is. Oh my God. Ugh.
I know stuff
World's
like that is
deepest
so
lakes.
scary.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I feel like the ocean is deep and that's also terrible, but like a deep lake feels worse.
Yeah, I don't
Like
know why.
the thing, maybe I just like, yeah, like there's stuff in there that has never had the chance to leave. I don't know. You know what I mean? Well,
Um,
we were in, like, we were canoeing in like the Chesapeake Bay in like a little inlet over the summer. And we like went in a canoe and then Juan and Flo were on a paddleboard and the kids jumped off the canoe and we're swimming. And then we came back and as we were pulling the canoe up, there was a snake in the water. And I was like, oh my God, I hate it so much. It was just like on the top of the water.
hey, it's their
Ugh.
environment.
Yeah.
Um, Sweet. Well, that was my
Well,
story. Again, I know it's a short one, but I'm trying to, there's just not that much about this topic because it just doesn't happen that often.
yeah.
So,
And like, it's good that they figured out a way to stop it from happening, I
yeah,
guess.
yeah. I
If
thought,
it like really is a danger that it looks like it's happened before in like the past, which we would never know, be able to like find out the details of because it killed everyone around it,
yeah,
if
it's
you
weird because like
evil monster living in
it,
your lake.
it requires like so many conditions to be present,
Hmm. So many
which like
things
yeah,
these
like it's
things
just
do.
like who's thinking about that? Like, is there volcanic activity under here? Like, I don't know. It has a lot going on because
Hmm.
usually you don't equate volcanic activity with it not being or with it being calm. Usually the two don't kind of work together.
Right, but like
Um,
so much is happening underneath the calm,
yeah, yeah,
like in every case. Like I like when the Russians try to dig like the deepest hole possible and they can't get very far.
yeah. What happened to that hole?
And they can't get very far because like at a certain point, like everything you try to put in there melts.
Yeah, the world
So
is crazy.
you can't just dig all the way through it.
Kola super deep borehole. It is 40,000 feet deep. See, that's kind of scary too.
I was watching something, maybe it was for kids, but it was like if you dug a hole all the way through the earth and you jumped into it, if no one stopped you, the way that gravity works is you would just fall all the way to the other end of the world, pop out, and then go right back down. And it would just keep
Really?
happening. Yeah, you would just go like in and out of the earth.
Anyways,
Anyway,
cool. Do you have
cool.
anything
Thanks.
to list off?
No, just thank you everyone for listening. I've got a couple ideas via Instagram from Lindsay and Kiara, so thank you both. And keep them coming. I really appreciate it. And please, again, tell your friends. Um, email us, doomtofailpod@gmail.com, doomtofailpod on all the socials, and leave us reviews and let us know what you want to hear.
Sweet. We'll go ahead and
Cool.
cut it off there. Thank you, Taylor.
Thank you.